All right, so we get to talk about something really interesting right now. We have an expert here. This is Karisa, and she is a certified sex therapist in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So I think the question on everybody's mind, Karisa, is what do you do as a sex therapist?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here with you and Erin.
So excited to have you.
Thank you. So sex therapy is a pretty broad field. I'll try and keep it succinct in that we talk about different issues as it relates to sexual desire, sexual arousal, plateau, orgasm,
all the stuff.
All the things.
Yeah.
And there are all sorts of areas where there can be dysfunction or hiccups for people. They can be biological, physiological, psychological, emotional. We cover a gamut of areas as it relates to human sexuality.
Yeah, and that makes perfect sense that your job needs to exist.
Right.
Yes.
I
mean, I know that in pelvic floor therapy, we do a lot helping the physical pain with sex and other issues like that.
Right.
But there's also psychological stuff that goes with that
Absolutely.
that we are not trained for.
Right. We say the brain is the largest and most powerful sex organ. So, yes.
So, a lot of the women looking at this program with us and who are looking at this video, a lot of them have had kids, and I think one common issue is like transitioning back into intimacy with your postpartum self.
Yeah.
Right? And things that changed. So what's some of the advice that you have for these mamas?
Yeah. Well, I don't want to sound like I'm minimizing it because female sexuality in itself is incredibly complex and very misunderstood. I'm very passionate about that area of my work, educating men and women about female sexuality. And then you add in a baby or babies if you have multiples. Yes. Don't want to discriminate. And it adds a number of other variables for women and men to have to navigate through as a couple. So the first thing, biologically and physically, I mean, obviously women's bodies change dramatically.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Just during pregnancy and then even afterward. They're flooded with hormones and they're not getting very much sleep. Right?
Oh, I get tons of sleep as a mom.
Okay. Well, you're
I'm
special.
I'm just kidding.
Yes.
It's been years since I slept like that.
Well, you look great. You're doing great.
Thank you.
That insomnia thing
Got
works.
some,
Yes.
concealer under these eyes. But
Nice.
yeah, thank you.
Nice. So for women, two of the top variables that impact sexual desire alone are going to be a woman's sense of how she feels, a body image. If she likes her body, if she feels sexy, if she feels attractive, that's important.
So important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And so after babies, your body changes and the vulvar region changes, and sometimes things have to go back to where they were, and sometimes they don't go back to where they were if there's been an episiotomy or there was tearing, as you ladies work with often.
Yeah.
That's a huge part of just the physical part of reentry.
And that's one thing Erin and I are super passionate about is, helping women heal and improve their bodies, but also just learning to love your new body.
Yeah, that's hard. That's really
there's some
hard.
things we can change and some things we can't, and I think it's really important to, work hard to change the things that you can, but then learn to love and accept the things that you can't. Right?
Yep, and that's a daily journey for all of us as ladies, I think. The flood of hormones can impact women in all sorts of ways. I mean, you have to be careful of postpartum depression and anxiety. Sex hormones are powerful messengers to the brain. They impact our mood in very potent ways. They also impact our sex drive. Some women actually have increased libido when they're breastfeeding, and more often than not, however, more women don't want to be touched. I think you probably hear a lot about that.
Especially if you're like wearing your baby, or you have a baby who's beyond you all the time. You're kind of like, I've got my touching for the day.
That's right. And you have a nursing bra and you're not feeling super sexy. I mean, there are all sorts of variables. So as far as couples navigating that together, I think it's really important for people to try and talk about sex before they actually have their children if they can. Kind of talk about expectations and things they're nervous about. And then during pregnancy, obviously, sex can look different for a couple. And then after pregnancy is what we're addressing, it can look different for a couple. So sometimes women, when we don't feel good about our bodies, we might be in the mood to be intimate, but I don't feel confident to pursue my partner. And oftentimes after childbirth, men are concerned about hurting their partner. So they want to respect giving her time and space to heal. And so there can be
it's a fine line, right?
Yes, there can be a big storm of rejection and feeling deflated and unwanted. So
what he's trying to do by respect her space may come off as hurtful because he's not initiating.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. And so I think it's so important for couples to be open and honest about what they're wanting, what they're needing, and just trying to be forthright with each other and say, hey, I don't feel very attractive, but, if you're in the mood, I would love a chance to connect with you intimately right now.
So tell me a little bit more about the emotional side of things too.
Yeah. So for women most of the time for a woman to be in the mood sexually, she has to feel relationally okay and emotionally connected to her partner. And so there are a lot of different aspects post-childbirth that
Can mess that up.
can mess that up, absolutely, make things even more complicated. So again, I'm going to go back to the hormone conversation or maybe the sleep deprivation because those seem to be most pertinent in my practice.
Yeah.
So again, the flood of hormones, estrogen and serotonin are directly connected in ladies, and for men, dopamine and testosterone are directly connected.
Interesting.
Yes, and there are 4 different types of estrogen. And so all of those get all sorts of out of whack when a woman's breastfeeding. And and depending
Plus, there's the milk to deal with.
The milk to deal with, yes. Depending on how much sunshine she's getting. Sunshine does impact serotonin production. And time of year. Is the woman in isolation? Does she have a lot of communal support?
Yeah.
Does she have other women coming around her helping take care of the child while she's trying to rest? So sleep deprivation actually is a very big factor in terms of impacting emotional health in women in general. And then after you have a baby and you're sleep deprived, some women do better than others, but some women, a good night's rest makes the difference between hope versus despair. And that's real.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been there. Yeah.
Yes.
As of
yes.
most of my patients and friends,
like
right?
You just got to go take a nap. Excuse me. Not in a good place.
Yeah.
So there was actually a study done with women who were all depressed, chronically depressed, but they were also all chronically sleep deprived. The only variable they changed in the study was that all of these women were required to get 8 to 9 hours of sleep every night for a certain duration of time. And at the end of the study,
I want to be part of that study.
Right. Sign up for no one interrupt my sleep hygiene. At the end of the study, all of the women reported feeling much better and much less depressed.
Yes.
Just because they were getting sleep. So the way that a woman's brain works, when she's resting, her brain is still 90% active. Both of our hemispheres are switching back and forth much more rapidly than a man's brain. So our brains don't really ever get to chill out. So sleep is a chance for women to just get out of their head for a little bit.
Yeah.
And recover and start over the next day. So if I feel better just as an individual, I'm probably going to feel more in the mood or more likely to have the energy to pursue intimacy with my partner.
Absolutely.
Just because I'm getting sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess what tips and advice would you have for that mom who wants to have good intimacy with her partner, but she is sleep deprived?
Yep. So sometimes I think ladies have to have a real frank conversation with their partner and say, hey, I'm tired, but if you want to talk about a time that you'd like to be intimate in the near future, I can try and set myself up for success. I think sometimes women have to plan for it and think about it, and that doesn't necessarily take the fun out of it. It's just kind of creating boundaries around something so that you can be mentally ready and prepared, because you have a tiny little human that needs you, and maybe you have a baby monitor on and you're waiting for the cry. I mean, there are all sorts of distractions that can pull us away from being in the moment with our partner.
And maybe that like awareness and motivation can be part of what helps the partner.
Yes. Help
give her naps or take turns at night, right?
Yes. Yep. Who's getting up with the child all the time? Can I get a 2-hour nap before we pursue intimacy later? Can you help me finish all the laundry because the nest feels out of whack?
Yeah.
I mean, those are all real.
Perfect.
Yeah. So there are all sorts of things, but again, I'm going to camp out on people just need to talk. They need to talk about what they need, talk about what they want. Your partner isn't your mind reader. You can't expect them to be your mind reader. It'd be wonderful if they were that intuitive.
Yes.
But like we teach children, ask for what you need. Same thing with adults. Like, I can't, just tell me what you need, tell me what you want. And if couples can do that with love and respect, I find that they're much more successful navigating through postpartum together than...
That's excellent advice.
Great.
Absolutely love it.
Well, thank you. Good. Thanks.
So hopefully, ladies, you have learned that, one, you are not crazy for having some of these feelings.
Not at all. Yep.
This is a very common issue, and we want to know that there is support for you out there. And in the meantime, open up communication and give your body some rest when you're able. That will definitely help you a lot.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming out.
Thanks, Jenna. I appreciate it.